All right.
I like
Gonna
the
be
intro
going this
music.
morning.
Yeah.
So,
you
hey, welcome back from a short summer break, episode number 143. Brandon, I was thinking about this before we started. I think this could be like the official start of the fourth season because I think we're actually 3 years in. This would be the
Abs-
fourth. We're going into the fourth
Absolutely.
year.
Yeah,
Man,
I would say that for sure.
yeah. So, Alice, welcome to be the first guest
I'm
of our
sorry.
fourth
I'm
season.
sorry. Okay.
Yay.
I was trying to share it. So Restream glitched on us, and I wasn't able to get my LinkedIn connected, and so I'm trying to reshare it, but it popped up and wouldn't let me mute it. So sorry about that.
It's okay. It's okay. So, hey, we are, in our fourth season here, we are going to explore the latest and greatest modern sales strategies. We've got some great guests lined up, starting today with Alice, of course. Alice, this is your third time on, I
I
think.
think so, yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. And what we're going to talk about today is a new strategy that I know, Alice, that you and Brandon have been testing, utilizing, working on for really building leads or maybe opportunities, and maybe more highly qualified opportunities through the use of roundtables. And
Yes.
I just noticed our friend Bob jumped on. I attended a roundtable with Bob and his team last week, I think it was. It was kind of my first roundtable. It was interesting. I found it was interesting, and I have a lot of questions as we go into this today, but I think a lot of other people do as well. But hey, let's start off, and maybe Alice and Brandon. So I'm going to be, well, okay, hold on. So I'm going to be the host today. Carson is,
Time out. Start over. Get centered.
Where's Carson?
yeah, Carson's on his way home from Hawaii.
Yeah,
So
Carson's drinking too
Nice.
much pineapple juice and coconut
yeah,
juice, and
he's got too many Mai Tais and going
yeah,
on to be here for the day.
Gotcha.
But he'll be back next week. But okay, I'm going to take a deep breath. So
what's going on in California that you're so scattered today? It's
it's been a month. I haven't
tornadoes.
done this. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what
Is
to
it
say.
earthquake weather or something?
Yeah, yeah.
No, we take a month off, and
I know.
let me say this where you gather your thoughts. Tom and I were talking. We didn't do seasons initially with Mastering Modern Selling, and for everybody listening, if you're live, thank you for joining us. Remember, if you add comments, we get to see them. Alice is super smart. Tom and I are just here for looks. She'll
Right.
answer your questions and give you great, amazing feedback. If you're watching on the video, you're watching this as a recording on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, wherever it is, and you comment, we'll still get notified and we can come in and answer questions. And if you're on the podcast, we love you all too. You can put your notes down there or read our show notes. You can comment there and we'll come back and take it, answer your questions and respond. But we have been doing, so Tom and I and Carson, here's a quick history of Mastering Modern Selling while Tom's gathering his wits about him right now. Tom Carson and I started, well, Tom and Carson both became guests on my previous show. And then the three of us got together and did a show. And then the three of us got together and did another episode, not a show, an episode. And they were like, hey, let's just keep talking to people about what's going on in sales. And honestly, it's been one of the best things I've done as far as learning, because we get brilliant people like Alice to come on, and we've had Anthony Iannarino and all these great people, and Mark Hunter, they come on and share. And then we also get practitioners that come on and they share with us what's really happening, what they're experiencing. And so we're in what we're calling now season 4. We're pushing, it's episode 143. We've been doing this over 3 years. And by the way we started today, you wouldn't know that we've been doing this for over 3 years. There's the history. Welcome, Alice. Alice, everybody, she's our Alec Baldwin, as Alec Baldwin is to Saturday Night Live. Alice is our Alec Baldwin. I think she's been on with us, 16, 17 times. I think it's been 3 or 4, but she's so awesome. We keep inviting her back. So
Live from Reno.
That's
It's
it.
Mastering Modern Selling.
So Brandon, I have a question for you in that history. What was the original name of the show?
Oh, I don't make me say it because I didn't like it. You and Carson outvoted me.
But this is the third name, right? We've had three
This is
names.
the third name. Yeah, we started it as social selling for newbies. And I hate the term social selling, but I went along with it. And then we changed it to, gosh, I don't remember because it was a short one. We didn't like it. We
It was
changed it.
still social selling. I think it was modern social selling or something
Yeah,
along those lines.
something even more dumb than the first one. And then we got to mastery modern selling, and here we are.
All right. So welcome everybody. Episode number 143. We're going to talk about roundtables today. I am oriented. I know what I'm doing now. And I also want to thank, as always, Fist Bump for their sponsorship of this. They will be sponsoring again in season 4 here. They do all the production work. And Alice, please reintroduce yourselves to everybody, and then we're going to get into Roundtable.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Hi, I'm Alice Hyman here in the beautiful Sierra Nevada mountains near Reno, Nevada. And I am a sales strategist. I work with technology CEOs who are not startups. They're more mature and they're probably over 5 million already in revenues. And they want to elevate their sales to increase their valuation. So they have lots of options. So it's super fun. I get to do what I love every single day. And I love to talk about the complex sale, about lead generation, and about how we approach our customers today to meet them where they are.
Great. And your title there says Chief Sales Energizer. So,
yes. The other day, somebody read that to me and they said, "Oh, you're the chief sales engineer?" I was like, "Yeah, you got the wrong girl. I got no engineering in me at all."
Got a lot of energizing, no engineering.
I have a lot of energizing for sure.
I love it.
All right. So we're going to, again, talk about this roundtable strategy. But before we do that, and I'll ask maybe Brandon, you can start, or Alice, you can jump in. Where are we at in sort of as we enter into fall of 2025? Where are we at in the state of sales and sales conversations? What's working? What's maybe even more broken than ever? What are just at a high level, and then that'll set the stage for maybe why we should be talking about or utilizing roundtables as a strategy.
Alice, why don't you go ahead and go first? Because
yeah, I got a lot to say about this. Brendan and I talk about this stuff all the time, by the way, offline, online, we text each other, like we're always talking about it. So it's harder than ever to have a sales conversation, right? It's harder than ever to get a person who is ready to buy to get on the phone with you to talk. And so you can listen and hear what their concerns are, their problems, what they're trying to solve for, right? Or how they want to grow. It's hard to get people on the phone to do that. It's just hard. And so why? Well, the world has changed a lot. People can, they have access to everything. They can learn all about you. They can learn all about your competitors, or at least they think they can, right? And so as corporate visions, my friend Tim Reister would say, yeah, so they're out there getting all this information or misinformation about you and your competitors, and maybe even they have a misconception about what their own problem is. Like maybe they think, oh, we have a problem keeping track of data, we need a CRM. So they're out looking for a CRM, but really that's not the solution to, we have a problem with their data. They just have this preconceived notion about it. And so if you do run into a buyer that's ready to buy, they come with all these preconceived notions. So that's another problem. So it's hard to even find a buyer who's ready to buy, who will actually have a conversation with you. Then if you do get one, they may come with all these preconceived notions. And then if you work with them for a little bit and get to talk to them and learn and maybe help guide them to what their real issues, concerns, challenges, growth problems are, and help them move through it, then they have a lack of confidence in themselves and their coworkers to make a decision. And so they just don't. It's like analysis paralysis. Now they're frozen, no decision. So it's like, first you got to get them on the phone. Then even if you do, right, you've got this whole other set of things that we don't train salespeople for at all. Now, back to like just the first part of it, which is what Brendan and I have been testing. Like, how do we get to have conversations with the people who can buy from us? we're having trouble with cold calling and email. Now, I'm not saying neither of them work, because they do work. You just need tremendous volume, and you need really targeted messaging. So what we're trying to do is think about how can, instead of 2 out of 1,000, how can we get 5 out of 10 for salespeople? Because that would be way better odds, right? So if we ask 1,000 people to have a conversation and 2 respond and 1 books the conversation, terrible odds. I mean, I live in a betting town here, right? In Reno, Nevada, we have gambling. I wouldn't take those odds. But if we do something different and draw these people to us, and maybe draw 10 of them to us and 5 say yes to a conversation, hallelujah, way less work, and people who actually want to talk to you.
So I have a question, and Brandon, I want you to jump in on this. Are you finding that that's not only difficult to get quantity of conversations, but when you do get a conversation, the quality is not there? We all in the tech world, hey, we want to do discovery calls, we want to discover their pain, we want to all of that. Is that becoming more difficult to get those answers, or maybe even get accurate answers?
Go ahead, Alice.
Yeah, I mean, so I think a lot of people just don't even know what their pain is. So that's part of the problem, right?
Okay.
So we don't know how to have the right conversations, and we don't know how to ask the questions. So let's say you do send a message by voicemail or text or LinkedIn or email that actually gets a buyer to go, oh, I would like to talk to you. Let's say you do that, right? Or better yet, somebody introduces you to someone, that they would think would like to have a conversation with you, but you get that conversation. Where do you start? Well, part of the problem is salespeople are starting with the old BANT, right? Do you have a budget? Do you have the authority? Do you have a need? And
Right.
What is your timing?
Right.
Now, yes, most of those questions have to be answered before you can close a deal. But when you start there with a buyer, they're going to be frustrated. And although they might answer you, they're not going to have a very high opinion of
Right.
you.
Sure.
And so, what we want to do is think about, how do we meet the customer where they are? So we might start with, hey, I'm curious what prompted you to want to speak with me and learn about my products and services, right? And let them talk, and then say, well, I could tell you a lot of things about this, but I'd prefer if you walk through, what you've done so far to learn, and what you'd like to do today, and tell me anything else that might, help me help you and determine whether this is even a viable solution for you. The conversation would need to sound more like that. Not, hey, so tell me about your project. All right, so what's the timing on that? And do you guys already have a budget?
Right.
Most companies do not have a budget for this specific thing.
Yes.
They have budgets and they'll go get the money, but they're usually like, I don't know what the budget is. Somebody sent them off to do some research. So,
Right.
Brandon, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, well, and my take's a little different in that what I love and I learned so much from Alice is, when you're on calls with people, how do you navigate it? You heard her just asking, sharing some of those questions like, hey, what's going on, and start learning. And you want to get to BANT, but if you go at it directly, you sound like a salesperson and you're losing it. My focus has always been, how do we earn more of those conversations through our reputation? And you guys, the term I say is revenue through reputation. The more well known we become in a network or in a community or within an industry, the more likely our team or ourselves, our calls are going to be answered, our emails are going to be returned, because we have a reputation that goes before us. And that's really been my big focus in sales, is how do we build those reputation? We have all these digital tools. So what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing is the challenge. And again, I don't say cold call is dead, but if you're calling and they don't have any clue who you are ahead of time, the chance of them returning your call is really based on, and getting into Alice's odds, it's based on the luck of timing. Did you send this to them at just the right time? I mean, I spoke with somebody earlier today and they're like, oh, we got this great client through a cold email. And it's like, great. What's the overall data with your cold email? Like, how is all the email worked? Oh, well, I think they're the only ones we got over the last year or something like that. It's like, okay, you hit them at just the right time. They responded. They went, that's great. It's going to happen. So I do agree with the volume, but overall, what I see and what I'm hearing is, technology is actually hurting a lot of companies with the effectiveness of their outreach because of this. There's so much technology, and then there's so many companies that we're all just getting hammered with messages. And so buyers are just doing the stop. I can't keep up. I can't respond. I can't do all this research. What I'm going to do is that when I have a need, I will go figure out who I want to talk to. And
Yes, I
so,
think that's right. And again, that can be a problem because they have a misconception even about what's going to solve their problem. So they may even go talk to the wrong people. And that's why I think ahead of all of that, right? We want to build our reputations, like you're saying, right? And be there and have them know us for whatever that thing is so that we become one of the people they do want to talk to. But I want to mention something that we're not going to really spend a lot of time on today, but it's intent data. And it's not just, oh, hey, a person from the marketing department at ABC company was on your website or was looking for it. It's intent data at the person level, because this is the problem. You said it, timing. And that's why you can call thousands and get no responses, even if they're slightly interested or could buy. They're your ideal customer, demographically, but they're not in the market for it, right? So when you have a great ABM, account-based marketing strategy, or an account-based prospecting strategy coupled with person level intent data, that's the way to do the cold outreach these days. So you are not doing tremendous volume, but you're aiming right at the people who you happen to know are buying now. That's getting 40 and 50% response rates. So that's way better than 0.0001, right? But there are other ways, right, Brandon? And that's, I think, where we really want to get to today. Like, what else can you be doing? Not just you as the CEO. Of course, you as the CEO, we're always pointing at you, right? You know me. Don't be the sales prevention department. But you as a CEO, your team of leaders, not just your GTM leaders, all of them, and your sales team, what can they do to get more conversations? Brandon.
yeah, so I'm going to start with what we started doing, and we found the value in like live shows and podcast and other types of content. My model has been for a long time, like leader-led content, because people want to hear from leaders. They want to know what leaders are like. They want to know what they're thinking. What are they talking about? What have they done? How are they serving customers? And we all know this is true. And I get it that leaders don't want to be on social. They're scared. They don't want to put themselves out there, and they've got
Or
a
they
million.
really, I think too, Brendan, they feel like they don't have time. It's like I don't have time, and I really don't even know what to do.
Right. So there's fear, there's time, and there's not sure what to do, but they tend to stay away from it. But we know and this is when I talk to leaders, like to try and convince them of how important it is ask, hey, when you're going to events and your sales team scheduling meetings, how often are they asking you to come to meetings with them? And they're like, all the time. They're always asking me to come to meetings. I go, why? Oh, well, they want me to be a part of it. Why? And when you get down why long enough, what you end up getting to is your presence as a CEO or
Right.
C-suite matters. It's influential. And that's why you being present in something and you creating content is so important. But it's also then, and where we like doing shows with different episodes, is you can take the content and fuel your outreach. So instead of all outreach being just trying to get meetings, you actually can take valuable content and share it with your audience, share it with your database of people, and you're starting to socialize and build your reputation. You're giving them information that they're reading, they're paying attention to, they don't feel like they're being sold. Then if they're keeping everybody else at bay because it's all, do you have time for a meeting? Do you have time for a meeting? your content's getting through. And then when the timing's right, they're more likely to reach out to you. Or if you reach out, they're more likely to respond because they've been socialized. They've been listening to your information and paying attention to you. So I think that's the first step. But what Alice and I started talking about is if, and we just talked about how this is true, if buyers are so inundated with outreach that they're just not paying attention, they don't want another demo, they don't want another meeting, they don't want to be sold, but yet we still want to meet them, we want to build a relationship with them. How do we do that? How do we get them to want to be in a conversation with us? And this is where the roundtable model really came about. And the idea was, if we can put something together that's valuable for our ideal customers, that they want to be a part of, we don't have to always talk about ourselves, but if we get them in a room, virtual or otherwise, and they're there because they want to, and they're learning with their peers, and they're having these great conversations, and we get to be in the room also, we're building relational equity. We're building relationships. And what I like is what we're building is, after the roundtable, let's say we get 20, 25, 30 CEOs in a virtual room, roundtable, we moderate. So we're not really talking, we're just moderating. They're talking, they're sharing. The day after, you can pick up the phone and call every single one of them. And high likelihood, I don't want to say it's 100% because things happen, but they're going to return your call when you call them up and go, hey, how was yesterday? What value did you get out of it? And what do you recommend we do differently next time to make it better? They respond. And now you're in a conversation with your best customers.
So
Yeah.
let's back up again. If we're transitioning to the roundtable, what is the anatomy of the roundtable? What does it look like? How do you put it together? Who do you invite? Who do you not invite? Right? What is the basic anatomy of a good roundtable strategy?
Yeah, that's a great question. But let me pause you for 1 second because I want to do a little history on this, right? Because this is not a new idea. Hello?
Yeah.
Not a new idea, right?
But it seems to be. I've seen a lot of them just in the last couple of months. So whatever you guys are doing is working on this, because I've seen a
for
lot of them.
sure. It definitely works. But here's the thing. So years ago, I mean, way before COVID, and of course, I've been around a long time. We won't say how long. But we used to do dinners, right? And we would have like 8 to 12 of our ideal customers. Like when I was with Miller Hyman, for example, I would invite VPs of sales because from Fortune 500 companies, because that's who would buy from me, right? And those VPs, I knew they wanted to meet each other, right? For future job possibilities and other reasons. But I also knew they had a lot to say. So I would invite them to dinner, but I didn't invite too many. I'm not doing a big event here, right? I only invited the amount that would provide enough space to have conversations and not just have these little small conversations. So if you invite 12 and you get 8, hallelujah, right? Now you got 8 of your ideal customer around a table having dinner, having a conversation. Love it. Used to do it all the time. Worked beautifully, right? Then before COVID, and when video was just starting to get popular, I've been doing webinars forever. I didn't call them roundtables. Sometimes it was an actual training, but I would let everybody talk, right? And everybody loves to share an idea or ask a question. So if you facilitate it properly, they'll do it. I would get like 200 people sometimes, which is too many to let everybody talk. But people were just really interested in the information and the conversation. So I knew that from way back. But then in COVID, it got to be so much video, right? And then I kind of got tired of it. So I just stopped doing it. And so then when Brandon and I were talking about it, and I'd heard some other people doing it, I did one with another person that I know. And I was like, why did I ever stop doing this? This is phenomenal. So I'll throw it back to Brandon to talk about what is the anatomy of a roundtable. But the greatest and most important thing is that you get to invite exactly who you want. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I want to hit Bob's comment because he says he did one. He'd approach it differently than the way he did it before. I think he's saying he wouldn't have invited me to the roundtable. I believe
he probably would have invited me, right,
Bob? Would have invited Al. Right. He's probably going, man, I got to bump Tom and get Alice in here for my next one. I think that's
Well,
pretty
I
simple.
wasn't invited or considered, so I'm a spot now. Bob did invite me to it, and we talked
And
about it.
that happened on my first one too. Like I didn't narrow my focus enough, right? So narrowing your topic is really important to get exactly the people who you want, who are gonna, talk about the things you want them to talk about. And then really narrowing your ideal customer for this particular topic is important too, right? So I think careful curation of the topic and the people is essential.
Yeah, I want to add that thing, and then Brandon, I'll go back to you. I noticed this in our sales cycles now that you bring it up. Now more than ever, there is an interest from our prospects or even our customers on what other prospects and customers are doing. There's
Yes.
a very strong interest of that, maybe more so than I've seen in my long career, which I think is even longer than you, Alice, is that sort of thing. And I don't know if that goes back to fear of messing up, right? The sort of Matt Dixon fear of messing up perspective, or there's just so many things going on that people want that pure sort of knowledge. But I do agree that right now more than ever, that is a desirable thing.
Well, and I would say, Tom, I think you're spot on. We went through the FOMO stage, which made a lot of sense. Tech was new, tech was growing, people were buying tech like crazy. Tech salespeople thought they were all rock stars because everyone was buying tech. And then, as Matt says, now we go into the FOMO stage, the fear of messing up. We won't say the FOFU one out loud, but the fear of messing up. And what I've been hearing now is the FOGI. It's the fear of jumping in. And if there's so much
Wow.
fear of jumping
We have a new
in,
acronym, Brandon. You
yeah,
got to write a book around that.
Like there's a lot of fear going around here.
there's a
I
lot
think
of
we got to
fear.
flip the script on that, right?
But with the fear of jumping in, how do you reduce fear when you're scared to jump in? You want to talk to other people that are like you and hear what they're doing, what is working, what are they thinking, and we've got so much great tech, and I don't want to put it down, but like, you put testimonials on a website. Well, yeah, of course you're going to put the best of the best, and then we're even going to wonder if they're true. Nothing better than to go out and talk to other people who are like you and have honest conversations about what are you doing, what's working, what are you frustrated with, and these roundtables give that opportunity. And then I'm going to do lead gen. I would call it relationship building. I would call it reputation building, but you can definitely call it lead gen. But you're getting, you get 20, 25 people in a virtual room and you moderate all these conversations that are taking place. So, Alice, you do such a good job of it too. We're making sure, hey, if you want to talk about this topic, raise your hand. Tell us your name, the company you're with, and the problem you're dealing with. And then other people get to speak into it and you keep it moving. And then you're in relationship with everybody that attended. So from a lead gen side, again, I would say relationship building, the networking side. At the end of one of these, you got 20, 25 new relationships. And now you've got to still work it, right? Pick up the phone and call them. Don't say want a demo, but like, tell me how it worked for you. What did you get out of it? What was your big takeaway?
Yeah. What are you still challenged with that I can help you with?
Right. See, and Alice, you do that so much better in transitioning those conversations. But
Yeah.
what I like with the roundtables is let's take a look at what buyers are doing. They're holding people at bay. They're not returning calls. They're not responding to email. They're totally inundated. How are we going to build relationships with them? How are we going to get them into conversations, meetings, demos, however you want to phrase it, if they're just doing this? We have to create an environment where they're going, can I be a part of that?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go back to the anatomy too, though, because I think it's like step one, right? Step one, who are the people most likely to buy from you that you already know that you can invite? That's step one, right? So, I mean, okay, granted, I have over 20,000 connections on LinkedIn and I can sort in my navigator and just sort by CEO and then sort by tech and then sort by, right? If you don't have that ability, get it because it's really important. But I'm thinking, who do I most want to help? Who are the people I can lift up and really have an impact on? Okay, got it. They look like this, right? Now I go find them, right? And then I think to myself, what is a topic that is really on their mind right now? So step one is, who are your people? Who are you going to invite? Step two is, what is really on their mind? That's pretty easy. You can throw that into any of those AIs, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, whoever you like. And you can ask, what would this type of person, specifically this type of CEO in this market, in this industry, blah, 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 what would they be interested in? But you can also put a poll on LinkedIn, ask the same question and get those responses too. So there's plenty of ways to figure out, if you don't already know, which you probably should, and you probably do, what they're interested in, figure that out. So now you know who, and you know what the topic is, right? Then what's next? Well, if you want to get 25 people, in a space at one time, whether it's online or in person, you probably have to invite at least 100 if you're somebody like me who knows a ton of people and people respond to me. But if you don't know these people very well and haven't really nurtured your network or kept in touch with them, and especially if you haven't been out there on LinkedIn sharing your thoughts and ideas, it's going to be a bit harder for you. So you might have to invite 3,000 to get 50, or you might have to invite 1,000 to get 20. But you'll have to test it and see. I get an overwhelming response because people know me. I interact with them all the time and they want to come. So you just have to know. But when you're first starting out, if you haven't nurtured your network, this is a great way to do it. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But it might be that you would have to invite quite a lot of people to just get 20 people at a table in a room or on a webinar, a Zoom call, right? To do the roundtable.
So let's assume we're doing virtual just for discussion.
Yep.
And again, let's just say you're going after executives. I know every business is different, but
Right.
what is the right number? I mean, Bob had mentioned something earlier about number of people, right? Is the goal to have, like you said, the right amount so that they can all converse and all have something to say? Or, maybe, which to me would be that 8 or 10 number. Is it better to have larger quantities so you can kind of have lurkers in there and then people that are contributing? Because that's what will happen, right? That's, people are either watching and observing, and then there's people that are contributing. And maybe there's two different strategies for, different amounts for different strategies.
Yeah. So my thought is this. I think so. I'm going to answer a different question, and then I'll answer that question because I want to answer this one. How's that? Another trend I've seen is webinar. And Alice, I know when you do a webinar, you do it by definition. It's a webinar. You come in, you teach people. You have that abundant mindset. You don't try to, bait and switch. But so many people have done webinars that, by definition, traditionally a webinar is supposed to be where you learn something. But webinars quickly got bastardized, if you will, and it became about 40% to 50% teaching them something, and then 50 to 60% trying to sell them something. Join a community, buy this product, do that. So, and unfortunately, what happened is webinars started to dwindle in reception and registration because people were like, is it a webinar, or are you just going to sell me something? And when buyers get nervous, when they're, more fear, we've talked about FOMO and everything, when they get fear, they just go, I'm not going to do it, because they have more power than that. They don't need to.
I think there's another fear factor, or fear of wasting time, Brandon.
Right.
So
right.
FOWT, right? Because how many webinars have you signed up for and gone to, and you went there, and man, this was a waste of time.
It's not a waste of time, right?
So in the invitation side, and that's why I wanted to address that, when you're inviting people, we have to be very clear, though. We have to say, look, this isn't a webinar. This isn't a sales pitch. It's not pitchy. And really lay out what it is. These are peer-to-peer conversations. It's not going to be recorded. So you can't register and send your recorder. We don't let recorders come in. We don't record it and let them watch it later. Like, you need to, this isn't let me sign up and get what I can get. You need to show up and contribute.
Okay.
Right. So we're creating it as a bit of exclusivity there. Look, I think, and I saw Lori said no lurkers. I actually think I like having some people that are, if we want to call them a lurker, I like people that they're going to contribute a little bit. Maybe they're contributing in the comments, but they get too nervous to communicate, verbally or be on the camera and speak. But I think the right number is somewhere around 20 to 25, because
Wow.
if you take that population, you're going to get about 8 to 10 people who really want to talk. And you're going to get a few other people that will talk when we moderate well and go, start calling out, hey, you guys, you're in here. What do you think? What's your take on this? And not call them out in a negative way, but call them up and get them in to contribute. And then you have some people, they'll turn their camera off. They just won't respond. And who knows, maybe they're doing other things, but they're nervous and they don't want to. So I think that's a good number that you can shoot for, but I don't think anything's wrong with a really, really super focused 8 to 12 people. And
Right.
then your registration at that point actually becomes more of an application. You can make it even more exclusive and say, this isn't a registration page. This is tell us who you are, and we'll let you know if you're a good fit.
Yeah, so it's just something to remember real quick. I got a couple things I want to put in here, but something to remember is if you invite 20, maybe 10 will show up, right? I mean, sorry, not if you invite. If 20 RSVP,
Right. You're
about
lucky
10
to
will
get
show
10.
up.
Yeah, you're lucky to
So
get 10.
let's say you invite 100, 20 register, 10 will show up. Now, I'm just making that up right now, but it's about like that. Like
Yeah.
the two that I've done so far this year, we invited like 3,000 and I had probably several hundred responses, most of them saying, oh, sorry, can't make it. I'm going to be in Europe. I'm going to be here, there, whatever. And 50, I think about 100 ended up registering and 58 showed up. That's really high odds. You probably won't get that. That was remarkable. But before I kind of go to, we're doing the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s, and I did the 1 and the 2, and I want to keep going on the how to do it. But here's what's so great about inviting people in your network. Don't invite second connections. I only invite first connections. And if you don't have many, then you need to get working on your network, be out there producing great content, connect to people and nurture them, right? That's what LinkedIn is for. And any other platform you're on, same. Okay. But what was so great is when I sent out those 3,000, and by the way, I did use a tool to do that. I don't recommend it, but I was testing it. Okay. I used a tool and I invited 3,000 people. And I'd say a third of them responded to me. People I hadn't talked to in ages. People, oh my gosh, how are you? What's going on? What are you
Wow.
doing? And oh, I'm going on vacation. I can't be there. And then I'd be like, well, where are you going on vacation? So I must have had 100 and some odd conversations going in my LinkedIn Navigator with all these people I hadn't talked to in ages. It was phenomenal. So even though they didn't come to the program, it got me back in touch with my first connections, right? And I had sorted it more than just first. It was CEOs that are first connections.
So
So
was your invite done via LinkedIn? So when you
it
reached out to
was
your 100, it was done by LinkedIn. So like a direct message or a
it was
LinkedIn,
in LinkedIn Navigator.
right?
I only sent it to first connections.
Right.
It was one at a time, right? But
Okay.
through a mechanized system. So it
Okay.
did it for me, sending only 50 a day. Look,
Okay.
I could get in trouble on LinkedIn, right? You're not supposed to do this stuff. I'm just telling you that that's what I did. So I sent them that way, but I crafted the message. So it was like, hey, we haven't,
Yeah.
haven't seen you for a while. I'm
So
doing
the
this
fact
thing. You
that
want to come?
so the fact that you sent an invite that was more personal, because if you would have sent
Very personal.
if you would have sent 100 webinar red invites, you probably would have gotten no or very few
Right.
responses back, right?
No,
But now
I
you
said I'm
actually
doing a roundtable and
right,
it's a peer-to-peer discussion,
right, and
and
you're
come
invited. I think
prepared
you were
with
all right.
your
Right.
insight or a question. And like I said, the first time we had like 50 some odd people on, but what was so great about that? Because I thought that's way too many. This isn't going to work. About uh, half of them did get to talk, and the rest were the chat was so busy and they were talking to each other, but it was also a great networking event. People met each other. We didn't spend time introducing. We put the LinkedIn's profiles in the chat, and then they could connect with each other. So many great things. But back to like the 1, 2, 3s, right? Who's your audience? What's the message that, what is the thing they want to talk about, right? And then write a really great invitation. You've got your list. You could do this by email too, if you have it by email. It doesn't have to be done on LinkedIn. And make a very personal message to them that you're inviting them. And this invitation, like Brandon said, it's very specific about what we're doing here. But then you have to, deliver what you promised. You can't talk for 20 minutes and then you have to, like Brandon and I, when we did ours, we were like, hey, this is who I am. This is who she is. I mean, we welcomed everybody first. This is, you guys all know us because we only invited first connections. You all know us.
We can't do a roundtable pitch slap is what you're saying.
Yeah. And then we were like, hey, this is the topic. I have something to say. Brandon has something to say. Then it's all you. I mean, it wasn't even 5 minutes worth of stuff, right? Maybe 6. Yeah. And then they talked the rest of the time. We just called on them.
Yep.
And then some wanted to comment on each other, and we let them.
Alice, I can always count on you to bring us back to talking steps 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And
well, people want to know, how do you do it, right? Can you do this yourself?
Well,
yes. The second one we did, we manually invited people. We didn't invite anywhere near as many, but we narrowed our niche even more. And we got a very good response rate, what we wanted, by doing it one by one, which is fine, right? So there's different ways to do it, but okay, then you get on there and you better deliver what you promised. So that was number 4. And then you take all of those insights. Number 5 is take all those insights, not recorded only for you, not to share with anyone else, because you want people to speak freely. So no recording, nobody's note takers in there, nothing, like Brandon said. And then we get the transcript, we take all the insights out, and we give people credit for those insights and make a post. It can be a blog, it can be on LinkedIn article, it can be a LinkedIn post, whatever you want. Now you're sharing the insights back out, right? So gather the insights and then share them back out. Share them on LinkedIn, share them via email, share them with everybody who attended, share them everybody who said, I can't make it, share them with everyone you invited who never even responded to you, because now you've had 2 touches with them too.
So I have a million questions. I'll try and put them down to 2 or 3, but I did want to hit Gail's comment here, right? About, reinforcing your point about first connections. I think that's something that we really overlook a lot, is the power of our first connections. And a lot of the time, right, our first connections are also first connections with the other people in our first connection list. So I think it's really, I think there's a very big gold nugget you brought up, Alice, about leveraging those first connections and not trying to go out to second and third. And then it also justifies Brandon building that first connection process along the way.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really important point. A couple things that I wanted to just hit on quickly here is, what I'm hearing you both say is there's a before, during, and after, right?
Yes.
So there's a strategy for the before that actually can lead to conversations. There's certainly a strategy during the event, and then there's the after thing that can lead. So it's not just, I'm going to do a roundtable. There's actually a journey that's going through that even for the people who don't attend, to your point, Alice, you may end up with conversations. Or even for people who didn't attend, who maybe said they were, you email them back, hey, sorry you couldn't make it. Should I conclude you on my next one that I do, or whatever?
Well, that's what has been happening to me when I send them that, and they go, oh, I'd love to get on the next one.
Right.
Great.
Right.
Now I've got my list already starting from the next
you're already
one.
in the next one. I do have one question that I'm sure some people would think of is, isn't this risky though, putting these people, maybe if they're even existing customers or in the room here, what happens if somebody badmouths your product or badmouths your company or doesn't say, is there a risk here for pulling all of these people together and potentially polluting your prospect pool?
It's an interesting question. I think it's kind of a silly fear, because that could happen anywhere. I mean, that can happen anywhere at any time, not just in the roundtable. But I think it does lead to being aware of who's coming and any, just being aware of any potential. But I mean, I see it much like being at a trade show and or a conference, and all of a sudden there's 6, 7, 12 people standing around in a circle having conversations. The same thing can happen there. But I don't know. I expect most adult humans to act like adult humans. I know that's a big leap sometimes, but I don't know. That's actually never even crossed my mind. Alice, have you thought about that?
No, I haven't, but there's a couple things that I do want to say about that because I think that it could happen. It's know your audience, right? Like, who are you inviting? Like, they shouldn't be complete strangers because you have a niche, right, in the marketplace. Who are these first connections that are most likely to buy from you? So you should know them. They are adults, but I think one thing is if you see somebody who's a competitor or something like that who registers and you're not really sure about them, you might just, say something to them in advance, or maybe just say, hey, this is just for people who don't compete with me. So I'm not going to, let you on. Right. But also as a facilitator or moderator, whatever you want to call it, because Bob, I know you were saying instead of moderator, facilitator. But the point is, if somebody starts to say something that isn't appropriate, it's your job to cut them off pretty quickly and say, oh gosh, thanks. Let's take that offline or something like that. So you've got to be a good
Yeah.
facilitator. And that's why we're talking about companies out there that have maybe 5 to 50 or 5,000 salespeople who might want to try something like this, right? And you're going to invite people's first connections, but it could get a little squirrely because there's a lot of people that we don't really know that well and stuff. So you have to be a good facilitator, and if you're not, then you're the host and you hire a facilitator to make sure that stuff doesn't happen, right? So there's ways around it, but I don't think that would happen because again, they'd have to be a little off to say something really bad or rude
Yeah.
in front of all those other CEOs or VPs of sales or whoever your audience is, because it will make them look bad. It won't make you look bad. So I don't know, but it's a good question, Bob.
Well, I wasn't I
I mean,
wasn't I
Tom,
wasn't
sorry.
I wasn't necessarily advocating that it was a legitimate fear, but it's the same thing, Brandon, we say, "Oh, I fear about social media, fear about
Yeah.
bringing my people together. What if," and they get all the considerations and it just ends
Yeah.
up kind of grinding to a halt. To me, certainly the reward could far exceed the risk. And with a little simple, as you said, Alice, some simple thought process and structure in it, you can keep that risk to pretty much minimal.
Yeah. I do want to talk a little bit about the selling part because I haven't said much about that. I'm kind of giving you some steps here, but the selling part comes, right? And to me, selling is solving or helping. So that comes with once you've delivered the insights and or like I say at the end, if anybody wants to have a conversation, I'm happy to help any of you. Just let me know, right? So always offering to help. And then a lot of people have just messaged me by LinkedIn and say, I'm really having a challenge with that. I didn't want to say anything in front of everybody else. I'm like, great, let's get on the phone. It happened after the one Brandon and I did the other day. I talked to one of the gals. She didn't speak up until the very end, and we kind of had to prompt her to speak up. And she was really struggling. So it was great. I just got on the phone with her. I thought it was going to be 30 minutes. It was late in the day, so it worked out fine. We talked for an hour and I solved for her. And it was fantastic. Now, did she buy from me? Not yet. Will she ever? I don't know, but she certainly now knows what I do and how I can help her if she is in the market for someone like me to help her. But she could also be a great referral. And she wrote a beautiful comment on our post about me, which I was just like, oh my gosh, that was so kind of you. Right. So you don't know, but the selling part comes with here are the insights. If there's anything you're still challenged with, here, call me or, I'll send you my
Right.
calendar link and we'll get a conversation going. But
Right.
I sincerely mean that. I'm not going to try to sell them anything. I'm going to help them first. And then if it sounds like, wow, you could really use more of my help, let's talk about what that would look like. They usually bring it up to me. I don't have to bring it up to them. So if you're doing it right, whether you're a salesperson, a CEO, a VP, whatever your role is in your company, if you do this well, you will have conversations with real humans who have the potential to buy from you or refer to you, right? Versus dialing for dollars and not talking to anybody. And if you talk to somebody and help them and then be like, hey, we're always looking for great companies. if, who do you know that I should talk to next? I mean, it's okay to say that, right? But you have to help them first. You have to earn it.
Well,
You
and go ahead,
know,
Brandon.
go ahead, Tom.
No, Bob must be reading my mind because I was thinking the same thing here
Can,
about.
can we wait on that for a second?
You
I want to
can, yeah,
address that
yeah,
too,
yeah.
but I'd like to piggyback on what Alice was saying too. And is what's so important about this, what I was saying is if you do it right, and it's lead with relationship, lead with giving. Like I get it that if you call this a lead generation strategy, we're coming into this going, we're going to go build relationships, we're going to create leads. But this is like my whole platform's always been revenue through reputation, relationship first, earn the opportunity, have a reputation so that when you do talk to people or when they're ready and they reach out to you, you already have credibility. And I think that's a lot of what Alice is saying by doing it right. Have conversations with people when it's over and you get a list of everybody who attended and whether you send them an email, you text message them, or you pick up the phone and call them, what did you get out of it? Like ask good questions and earn. Everyone wants to be a trusted advisor, but they don't want to go through the process of actually giving trusted advice to earn it. They just want to be crowned trusted advisor. When you're asking good questions, you're supporting them, you're learning. That's how you earn trusted advisor. And then when you do it right, you do it well, that's when it naturally moves into more of an opportunity
Yeah.
conversation for you.
Yeah. What I always say is the speed of trust is fast, but here's the kicker. It takes the time to earn the trust, and people don't want to spend the time. Once I have your trust, things go fast.
Yes.
But I'm not getting your trust. And so it's just going to continue to be slow and slow and slow and slow.
Mhm.
So people think, oh, I don't have that much time. Yes, you do. Because if you spend the time on the front end, the back end is easy, right? And if you spend time building trust with people who can either buy from you or refer you, whoa, as a
Right.
salesperson or as a founder-led sales or whoever's doing the selling, your life is going to be so much better. And you won't have to face this tremendous rejection, because these people want to talk to you.
Yeah. And so let's say you did 6 of these a year, you get
Yeah, that was
20.
my next question. What's the frequency? Is this a
Right,
once
let's
a
say you
month
do
thing or?
Yeah, let's say you do 6 of
I
these a
used to
year.
do that many when I was doing, but it was kind of a cross between like teaching. Some was, instructive and some was more conversational and stuff like that. But yeah, I easily did 6 a year, sometimes more.
Yeah, so let's say you do it once a month, and then we'll address Bob's question because I that's a good topic. But let's say you did it once a month and you had 25 people. At the end of the year, you've got 300 strong
Right.
relationships if you do it right. And so I mean at the end of the year would you look and go, hey, if I had 300 strong relationships with my ideal customers, or I'm going to keep pounding the cold this, cold that, cold whatever out, at the end of that year, what would you rather have? I mean, that's the big question for people. And I know it's hard because we still feel better based on volume, but the data is really, really pointing to deeper relationships. As
Right.
Alice said, it takes a little bit more time to earn trust, but once you earn trust, everything moves fast. And that's for business, repeat business, and referral for those businesses. You get 300 people, and maybe, let's say 10% of them are really big champions at that point. You build a career out of that.
Yep.
Right. That's right. That's exactly right. And if you think about doing this, it's like there's not a ton of prep. Like once you write a great invitation, you can use that again, just make a few changes in the topic and the time and the date, the place, all that stuff, right? And you can, if you are segmenting your audience carefully, then you can invite a whole different group, but the same topic. So it's like, I'm going to invite these 300 to try to get 20, to attend, right? To get, 40 to respond to RSVP and 20 to attend, this 300 with this topic. Now I'm going to move over and do this 300 with this same topic. It's a different group. do it again. And there's really little prep because you don't have to prepare content or be a good speaker or any of those things. You just have to get on, greet everybody, say hello, and facilitate and make sure everybody gets a chance to talk. And again, if you're not a good facilitator, you can just be the host and greet everybody. Someone else can facilitate. You probably have somebody in your company who's good at it, right? But you can do this over and over again because pick 3 topics that are hot topics for your audience and rotate those topics. Invite different groups. Now, some people might say, oh, I can't make it. Invite me next time. Okay, that's 2 months from now. I know I'm going to redo that same topic.
Right,
Put
exactly.
them back on your list.
That's right. And even, in 2 or 3 months, the context of the topic, even it's the same, may have different information, different things are. All right. So
last thing, because point 6, and Alice did a phenomenal job today. Mine will be posted tomorrow, but Alice created a LinkedIn newsletter and went through, and that was a summary of what was discussed on the newsletter, tagged people that attended, got permission, tagged people, and put in their specific message of what they said was working well for them. So she had this great LinkedIn newsletter. You get a social post to go with it. So I know so many companies, like, we struggle with creating great content. Well, this is a great way to create amazing content. You can get like a month's worth of content out of it, because you can turn the transcripts into multiple blog articles, multiple LinkedIn newsletters. But then you also, and I don't know if you're going to do this, Alice, we haven't talked about it, but everyone in her, I mean, we can always put, like, if you have the link to that, I can actually give it to you, and we could add it into the comments. But you could take every section of that. She had these paragraphs of what Amir said, what Brandon said, what whoever said. Each one of those could become a post in and of itself. And you're tagging people, you're giving them credit, you're building your network, you're showing people that, you're giving credit to other people. There's just so much value in this.
Hot tip. Get the quote from the person you want to do business with most and share it. I mean, why not, right? And not only that, if you keep reading in that article, maybe it's a bit long, I don't know, but I told you exactly how to do the things too. It's like, here, like, because I'm the how-to girl, step by step, right? Like, here's what to do. And I think it's important that we stop doing sales the hard way. If you read my post, it's like, why do we have to do sales the hard way? Like, why on earth would we do that to people? Don't do it the hard way. Get some help so you can do it the easy way.
Yeah. And I will get to Bob's. I know we're running out of time here, so I'll get to Bob's question here in a minute. But Brandon, I see a system developing here, and
me and you.
Yeah. But I see this as a real opportunity to amplify a lot of the things we've talked about over the last 3 years, which is LinkedIn, podcasts, shows, all of that, right? None of that, anything that we've talked about really goes away, but this amplifies all of those and vice versa, right? The O's can amplify the roundtables as well. So I think it's just a kind of a pyramid approach of the things that are there. All right, getting to Bob's question here, which is a question I had. Oops, wrong one. Let's see here. Okay.
Here's my question.
Yeah. So, this is a new tool, right? I'm not getting 50. I probably get 50 webinar invites every day. I'm not getting 50 roundtable invites every day. So this is a new tool. Is this going to have legs and longevity, or is this going to burn out because we all start getting 50 roundtable invitations every day and which one we're going to go to, and it becomes the same thing that we've seen with webinars or other good ideas?
Alice, you want to take it on first?
Yeah, sure. You can burn anybody out on anything, right? But I mean, people are going to catch on if people are bait and switch, right? It's a roundtable, but I'm going to talk the whole time. Like, people will catch on to you. If you're genuine, I think that's what really matters. And let's just take some cases here, right? So Brendan and I have, advisory type of practices, right? Like, we don't have products to sell, a bunch of widgets or, things here, I can hand you a thing, after you pay me or whatever. We don't sell heavy equipment. We're selling our services, right? And there are other entrepreneurs out there who don't have big teams who are, doing that. And I think this works really, really well for them. But I also want to talk about, I don't think everybody in our space is going to start doing them. Some people will, some people won't. But let's take okay, I have a client who makes remote controllers. They sell them only into two industries, really, into hydrovac and into concrete. Okay. So this controller is a big deal and it's really important and it has to be programmed. So it's technology and such, right? Now, how could they use this? They just have a few salespeople, like 3 or 4. Well, they could have their salespeople invite all of the prospects to a conversation about that. Like there's a really important one right now called it's a kill switch, right? It's a super important thing that you have to have. And you can talk about preventing accidents. Like everybody wants to talk about that, right? So you invite them and they know they're going to get to talk. They're not going to be talked to, right? It's not a training. It's not a webinar of me selling you a controller. We're not going to even talk about our controllers. We're going to invite you to talk about what you're doing with controllers at your company, how to prevent accidents, which is a huge thing in this industry, and let them share, right? Wow. If you've got 4 salespeople, each inviting all of their prospects, and the CEO shows up, and maybe their app developer and one other person, and they talk, just briefly introduces some of themselves and the topic, and all of those prospects get to talk, then those salespeople get to call those prospects, and
Sure.
those prospects will now take their call. So if you have 50 salespeople, well, you can't, because then that makes not a good roundtable. They'll be inviting too many people, but break them up, right? It's like, okay, you 2 or you 3 get to invite for this roundtable. You guys get to do this one. You guys get to do this one. And you have your own experts, or you get an expert from the industry who's going to say like 3 minutes worth of the topic, and then start calling on people to share. That's how a big company can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon, your take?
Well, look, I think, I love the expression marketers.
Sorry, Brandon, but that's not going to step on anybody's toes, because like it's not going to be too much or too many, or the other person in the industry probably isn't even going to think of doing it or even know you're doing it. I mean, I think you can wear them out, but I don't think it's going to happen too fast.
Yeah, I think what'll happen naturally is some people will start doing this, and they'll, as I like to say, they'll bastardize it. They'll do a bad roundtable. They'll make it pitchy, and people be like, and over time, it has a potential to ruin the whole tactic if people are doing it wrong, or tactic, if you will, the whole structure of it, if you will. But look, I think that's part of being in business. I think part of being in business is, hey, what can we do differently that's still value add and true and aligned to who we are? And I think that's where Alice and I started talking about this as a concept. Like, I just don't think sales is the right way. It's not aligned with me. It doesn't work well. I'm relationship first and give first and add value first. And then through that, I mean, I'm just a big believer that, you give and you get. And so you really can't outgive the world. And so that works for me. But yeah, I mean, I think more and more people will start doing it. I think that, look, Fist Bump, we added it as an offering that we do alongside with the shows because we saw the value. And honestly, there's some really good things about it. Number one is you can do one of these in about 4 to 5 weeks. And in 4 to 5 weeks, you got conversations with, call it 20 to 25 of your ideal prospects. That's really quick.
It's not perceived as passive, right? Or sometimes people think a show or whatever is passive. This is not that.
And a leader is moderating, or maybe somebody from the team. So you're not trying to get the leader to put themselves out there. I know Alice and I talk a lot about that with leaders. Like, hey, if you're not active on social media, here's a way that could be, active, but not totally putting themselves out there. Invite your first connections to come to this, and then facilitate, moderate the event. So I think there's a lot of value to it for companies, which is why we've incorporated it into our offering at Fist Bump.
Yeah, and I'll say one last thing, and then we can wrap up here on this. This is my take on this. of course, there's going to become, if this becomes more widespread, there'll be more noise, right? Just like anything else, there'll be more noise. But to me, that presents an opportunity now. I mean, think about people who started early in podcasting or early and even in the, and to start early. But I think, Alice, to your point, no matter what, make sure that you invest the time to do a high quality event, right? High quality roundtable. Just because you're early doesn't give you an excuse to kind of do something half-ass.
Right.
And start, get a couple of them under your belt and get the reputation, right? The brand, if you will, around that. Hey, these are high quality roundtables, and then allow yourself to rise above the noise before the noise starts to hit. I think that's the real opportunity, and not wait until everybody else is doing it and say, well, then maybe I should do this too. I think
And
that's the real
And
opportunity.
Tom, I would piggyback on that too. Use the content from the roundtables well to keep sharing with your network. Hey, we did this roundtable and here's what we learned, and keep sharing it with them. So you're building that reputation of being, hey, we facilitate these roundtables and we share the information. Then more people want to come to those. And when all the other people come with roundtables, you stand out.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Whew.
it's like anything else though. It's it's a strategy to attract the right people to you. You deploy it this way. And because I had a client, I think it was during COVID, they used to do these round tables. It was like an IT kind of a firm. They were doing the round tables in person. Then COVID came, they were doing them online, but they did not get a single stick of business out of it. Why? Partly because they were inviting the wrong people, and partly because no one was asking for a follow-up conversation. What did you get out of it? What are still things still challenge you? Can
Right.
I
They didn't
help
keep it
you?
alive. They didn't keep it alive. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been a great start to season 4.
Woo-hoo.
And some great comments, great participation from the listeners. It's always really adds a lot to it. Alice, thank you. I think we may, touch on this topic pretty regularly as it
Yeah.
develops, because I'm sure, Brandon, you're getting a lot of people even reaching out to you. To me, this would be something that, people are going to say, I may not have the time to do myself, but it's something that I want to do. And if you've already got a system or a kind of a more turnkey process of doing that, that would be to me, very smart investment. In fact, I'm
Yeah.
considering it for my own company. So,
Yeah, and I'll say this, and this is a bit self-centered on the fist bump side. What I like about it too is with our shows and other things that we do around LinkedIn, we tried to make it as little as possible. It's a 6-month contract because you gotta let a show get some
legs, yeah.
momentum. But with this, they can test us with a one-off. We put a guarantee on it, and I can explain that if anybody wants to know what the guarantee is. I mean, we're gonna guarantee that we're gonna get X amount of number of your ideal customers into your roundtable, and if we miss that number, we'll do another one for you the next month on our dime until we hit that number for you. And that's partly because we're so confident in it. And partly I know that it's hard for companies to spend money right now. We talked about, the fear of messing up. And it's our way of being able to say, hey, you're going to get at least X amount of people in these conversations. Even if it takes us 2 times to do it, we're going to get that for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think it's worth trying. And if anybody needs help with it, just contact me or Brian and we'll give you the steps and talk you through it. Or Brandon will do it for you. I won't, but I'll give you the steps and walk you through it and help you pick your ideal customer. But if you want someone else to do it, which I think is really the way to go, to do that. But just keep in mind, it is not the only way right now to generate leads. There are lots of ways, and you should be deploying lots of different methods to get conversations for your salespeople. So if any of that is, troubling you, please reach out to one of us and we will help you.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Alice. Great show. Brandon, good to have you back. Good to be back from
Good
our
to be
summer
back.
break.
Yeah. Thank you, Alice, once again. And we'll go ahead and we got 2 things. Alice and I are planning our next roundtable,
Okay.
and we'll plan on having Alice back again already.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
all right. Well, until next week, thanks again, everybody. And I'm trying to remember Carson's line. Happy modern selling.
Happy modern selling.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.